and welcome to your weekly roundup of all the latest news and ramble about the world of electric cars from the team at electrifying.com. So this week, we are discussing the new Mini Electric, again, because we're now allowed to actually talk about it, some sub £20,000 cars, and the latest new car sales figures. Plus, we'll be answering your electric car questions, discussing Barnard's bargains of the week, and dipping into the postbag to find out your views on everything electric. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Nicola.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Batch.
Hey, welcome, Mr. Bachelor. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I haven't been on for a while, but it's nice to be back. Thank you.
It has been a while. So come on then, what you got for us? Give us something juicy.
Something juicy? I don't know.
Yeah, let's start with something juicy.
Well, I've... This shows you how prepped I was for this podcast, doesn't it? I just quickly watched half of your Mini Cooper review about
Only
10 minutes
half.
before this podcast. So just so I could come across as learned and knowing all about the Mini. And it's quite funny, I have to say. It's quite funny. So...
Well, that's because it rained the whole time we were there.
I know.
So...
My question to you, though, is how didn't you get wet? Because you remain totally dry for the whole time, don't you?
Yeah. Well, it's the magic of an umbrella, babe. I don't know if you've heard of them.
But still.
Was Paul Manos our video man? Was he soaking by the end of it?
Actually, I can't even begin to tell. I think, did I mention this last week? But oh my God, he was soaked through. Like you could actually wring out his trousers by the end of the day. And bless him, he had to get straight on a plane first thing again the following morning. And he was trying with a hairdryer to dry all his clothes because he couldn't hang them on the balcony because it was raining. Yeah. So there was nothing he could do to dry his clothes off. So I think his bag must have stunk the moment he had to go over to Frankfurt. Yeah, that was...
It was a lovely experience. It was a lovely insight into, well, we know this obviously, but to our viewers and to our listeners, everybody thinks car launches are glamorous, don't they? And then, it was a very visual reminder that they're not.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. A lot of them are. A lot of them are very schmoozy, and you get taken to some fancy hotels and fancy places with lovely food and all that sort of stuff. So I can't ever complain about a car launch.
I wouldn't know.
But I did complain on that one quite a lot. Cause
At least it wasn't a convertible. That would have been disastrous, wouldn't it? What's it like with the roof down? No idea.
I don't know. Or just doing it with the roof down and just getting absolutely drenched. That probably would have been the best way to do it. Yeah. What else you got, Batch?
I've been out and about quite a bit this week and talking to plenty of people, and it seems like the word on the street is car makers are struggling to sell electric cars right now, brand new ones, and they're cutting prices left, right, and centre, massive discounts, and people aren't biting, which is worrying, but also. Lots of car makers are also saying to the government, please, can you help us out? Please, can you bring back the plug-in car grant? Help us, please help us. So, yeah, it's a bit of an odd time, actually.
That's weird, isn't it? Tom, have you noticed that as well then?
Well, yeah, I think the problem is that all the incentives go to companies when they buy electric cars. So you get all these tax benefits and the company car drivers get it. And if you have a car on salary sacrifice, it's still really, really competitive. So in that side of the market, things are fine. I mean, they're not quite as good as they could be, but there's not really any big problems. But private buyers aren't going in and saying, I will have one of those. So there are all sorts of offers out there to try and encourage it. But I suppose the problem, the car makers don't care who buys them, if it's a fleet or if it's the private buyers. But you need to have that demand when those cars become used. Yeah. And that's not there at the moment either. And that's when you get a bit of a problem and a misbalance. So I have to say, it's. I think it's partly... the cost, partly because people don't think they need one and they're a bit scared of it still, and partly all the misinformation. I mean, I still get it. It's just painful. You know, you walk into the pub and someone says, "Oh, you see that in the Daily Mail about that?" And you go, "Oh no."
It's always the Daily Mail. It's a shame though, because I feel like, especially now, where I live down in Sussex, in the beautiful countryside, our chargers around here have just got so much better. And
Mm.
I've noticed quite a few more electric cars pop up where I live, where they pretty much just didn't exist before. But now I feel like the charging network is so strong now.
Mm.
And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it shouldn't be an issue anymore, but it still seems to be a major concern.
Yes. Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, I had.
No, carry on, Tom.
I had on my Facebook. You know, everyone has a village Facebook group, don't they, or
Of
a
course.
neighbourhood Facebook
It's
group.
always juicy.
And we've just had a road closed for 5 weeks, and it's been hell. You know, trying to go around all these diversions and things. And there was a post this morning saying the road is finally open, but could all the drivers, especially those with electric cars which are silent, be careful not to scare the horses and children who have got used to having the road closed.
It's only been 5 weeks, babe.
I know, but electric cars apparently are especially deadly to children and horses because they're too quiet and they might sneak up on people.
Wow.
It's,
What sneak up? How? What, are you driving off the road into the fields?
I'm not
What's
sure.
the deal?
I'm not sure. It just amused me that some people are so anti-EV. They put on a village Facebook group
Of
about
course
them
they do.
being deadly because they're too quiet.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. I love village Facebook groups, but that takes the biscuit, that one really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I've spotted quite a few things online this week, and one of them, which you can spot on electrifying.com, is the news about the Hyundai Casper. Hey, Tom, tell us about that.
Ooh. Well, yeah, it's there are a couple of new cheap cars that are on the horizon. So Hyundai Casper is one of them, and there's a BYD, and the BYD is called in other countries the Seagull, which kind of follows that theme of seal and dolphin. And Seagull, I'm not quite so sure has the positive association that
It won't
dolphins
sell well
do.
in Brighton.
It'll just poo everywhere. It'll poo on other people's cars, won't it? The seagull will poo in other
I wonder
people's cars.
that's an
Yeah.
option.
But in some other markets where they don't think Seagull works, it's called the Dolphin Mini.
Oh,
So that would be entirely legal. But what's
No.
a baby dolphin called? It sounds like a pub
why
quiz
didn't they
question.
just call it a
doesn't
baby dolphin?
Yeah.
That's way cuter, Dolphin Mini. Baby dolphin.
But that car is, I think, $8,500 or something in China. But it's not going to be here. It's going to be 17 grand. But still, these are perfectly sensible electric cars with 150 mile plus ranges. And they're heading our way within kind of a year or two. So that's quite exciting, isn't it? I mean, they're small. They're smaller than like a Corsa or something, but we're missing a few nice, cheap city cars, aren't we?
Do we know much about like battery size and stuff like that when it comes to them?
Yeah. I think the BYD has a 39 kilowatt hour battery, so that's reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think there's a bigger option too.
Yeah.
And the
car.
Hyundai's similar. And
Yeah.
Casper as well. You're probably both too young to remember the Friendly Ghost, are you?
No.
I do. I had it on VHS.
Yes. I was mad about
It was one of my
Casper.
favourite films. I wanted to be Christina Ricci.
I know.
We have the same size foreheads, so you know.
I think I even had a pair of Casper pajamas. I'm not entirely sure. Possibly. I'm not sure.
I think that's quite a nice name for a car, to be fair. Casper, I think it's quite a nice name.
Yeah, you'd
Yeah.
think it'd be an Ionic 1 or something, but I don't
Mm.
think that's going to happen.
It's
She
just
obviously
very
just doesn't want to put
endearing.
it in the same category, does it? Yeah.
Mm.
It's just very endearing, isn't it? You're just going to put Casper on charge, and it's just lovely, isn't it?
Mm.
Lovely and quaint, and
Charming.
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah. Like it's quite cute.
yeah.
Casper. What do you drive? I drive a Casper. Oh, that's nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
And talking of Korean cars, we've also seen the first teaser picture of the Kia EV3.
Yes.
And I've seen the real pictures,
What do you mean the real pictures?
like of the real car. Yeah.
Oh, so like
And-
not digitally made pictures. You've seen actual pictures of the actual thing.
pictures. Yeah,
Is it nice?
Do you
Still
want to tell us
secret.
about it?
It's really cool.
Oh, he's got
Yeah,
right.
that's all I'm allowed to say.
Is that it? That's all you're going to tell us?
Yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you. But it's really cool.
I haven't seen these pictures of you, Batch.
No, I feel very left out.
Yeah, same.
Well, it's one of those cars where there's been a concept car that we've all seen for a while. It's been around for a while. And you look at the picture of the real car and you go, is that the concept or is that the real one? I'm not quite sure. And you go, it's got number plates on. Oh.
Oh, that's exciting
yeah.
then.
It is really exciting.
Well, it was
Yeah,
the
very
same with EV9, wasn't it? That very much looked like a concept car, and Kia seemed to be, and Hyundai as well. They're quite good at making concept cars, translating them to real cars, aren't they? So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, and they're just brilliant, aren't they? I genuinely, I have a lot of love for Korean cars. I really do. I mean, it's not new news. I say it quite often, but I have a lot of love for Korean cars. I think they're brilliant. When it comes to this BYD I'm driving, struggle a
Okay.
bit.
Tell us more.
That's not Korean.
Right. Well, I'm going to start with a positive, and I'm going to say now the weather is much nicer. It's way more efficient. Way more efficient. So I drove up to Oxford last week to the barn, which is a 75-mile trip for me to get there, and it ate up 130 miles of range for me to get there. Bear in mind,
we should explain what the barn is to.
So the barn is where we film a lot of our UK-based films for Electrifying. And it's up in Oxfordshire, and I live in Sussex, so I basically live on that worst bit of the M25 and then have to go down the M40, and that's how I get there, right? So it's mostly motorway journeys, so I don't expect it to be efficient, and it hasn't been that efficient. And for the fact that it ate up 130 miles just for doing 75, I thought was pretty shocking. Yeah. However, yesterday I drove to Milton Keynes, which is a 182-mile round trip. And you know what? It was bang on the money.
No.
It was bang on. So 265 miles, it says, as soon as I turn it on when it's fully charged after I've plugged it in overnight, right? And I drove up to Milton Keynes, M25, M1, drove back again, M1, M25, come back home, and it was bang on the money. Like I actually did I got back with 83 miles left, so I did the maths, and it turns out that's exactly correct. And I was like, what's that? Is that the weather? It must be the weather that's done that. So very impressive.
Did you have air conditioning on? Were you very comfortable driving?
I always like to have my car at a very comfortable 21 degrees, whatever the weather.
Yes.
That's what I always do. So I'm not too hot, not too cold. I'm just right, you know? And that's what I had. I had the fan on like level 2. I was playing some music and all that sort of stuff and driving exactly the same as I always do and taking it on the motorways, getting it up to 70, all that sort of stuff. And it still behaved wonderfully. So that's a good thing. However,
here we go.
Okay. Right. So I said this on last week's podcast that I get really irritated that every time I sit in the car, I have to go onto the settings and turn off the traffic signal thing because it beeps all the time every time it reads a new number, which, can I just say, it really annoys me that every time I drive my dogs over to the woods, there is a sign down that road, which is a 60-mile-an-hour road to get over to the woods. There is a sign there that says, if you see a horse, slow down to 10. And the car registers it as 10 mile an hour and then beeps constantly. I'm like, it's not even a legal sign. It's just a note to say slow down for horses. But for some reason, the car recognises it and then starts beeping like crazy. So that drives me bananas. So I always have to go through the settings and turn it off. Now, one of the comments that we got on last week on YouTube said, Nicola, there is a shortcut that you should be able to access the shortcut button. And you swipe down from the screen at the top, swipe down, and then you should be able to turn it off quicker. So I went, oh, that's great. So I went and I swiped down, but the problem is that menu only stays open for about 3 seconds. So by the time I've swiped down and gone, right, which button am I pressing? It's gone.
Oh.
It's gone. I couldn't see it. So then I tried to swipe down again and then it wouldn't do it. So then I tried it with 2 fingers, still wouldn't do it. So 3 fingers gets it back down again. And I was like, this is too much faff. This is too much faff. I'd rather just keep going through the menu and still having a nervous breakdown with this car.
So which orientation do you have the screen? Because it could make the operation more faffage. A lot more faffage if you had to go, if it was vertical, you had to go all the way down with your 3 fingers like that. Wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, I'm a horizontal.
You're a
kind
horizontal.
Of girl. It's
right.
Yeah. It's just when it's long ways, it's too tall. I don't know anyone that would have it like that.
No.
But horizontal.
I'm just worried about all the fingerprints and smears on the screen.
Yes.
You know how I'm about car cleaning.
Yeah.
All like you with your sticky paws with
I've always got sticky paws.
What's it orange fingered stuff all over. Ugh.
Me and my sticky paws.
I thought you had sticky trotters actually, but obviously paws it is. Yeah.
Well, yeah, same. Fair enough. I didn't realise this was to take the mick out of Nicola podcast. Tongue in cheek a bit.
I had a bit of technology on the Lexus, which I think might be a common feature on other cars. I've just never had to use it or come across it before, which was that went to bed, lying there in bed. You know how you just like, you're nodding off and you're thinking, and then suddenly you go, like, did I leave the iron on or something?
Yeah.
I thought I didn't lock the car. Oh, God. So then I checked on the app, and sure enough, it had a little warning triangle, car unlocked. So I scrolled down, and there's a thing to lock the car from the app. So you just keep your finger on the lock button, and it came back and said, car locked. I'm like, well, this is cool.
Oh,
I'm sure other
cool.
cars have it, but it saved me going down in my dressing gown, treating the neighbours to an eyeful, and getting the key, and then pressing it. So I was very grateful for technology.
That is good.
But
That is good.
But a lot of cars, I'm going to say it, Korean cars, they will just lock themselves after a while. They will. Because
Yeah.
they'll
Sounds a
go,
bit
oh, look,
dangerous to
nothing's
me.
happening around this car. We're just going to lock.
Well, so
you
I'm
wouldn't have
running.
had to-
I'm running a Vauxhall Astra electric at the moment, and
Ah,
it's very good at unlocking itself, and it has this very annoying high pitched beep when I can't work out how you can turn it off. So and it's particularly annoying because when you go and charge it up, because you've walked away from the door, it locks, and then you walk a bit closer, and then it unlocks, and each time it does that,
Yeah.
it goes beep beep, and then switches the lights on. So if you're doing this in the dark, my neighbour opposite me, poor old Amanda, thought that there was a nuclear disaster happening because the headlights kept flashing and beaming into her kitchen, and it just kept on beeping. So it's very, very frustrating. But it's also got an app, but the app is totally useless, really, because if you want to have the function of locking your car from your phone or switching on the air conditioning, which, let's face it, that's what we want to do with our electric cars, Vauxhall charge you £200 for the privilege, and I'm not going to pay that, obviously. So the app on the Vauxhall, on the electric Vauxhall, is totally useless. So that's my moan of the week is Vauxhall, sort it out. Yes, there we are.
okay. Right. So I would say those are two solid moans of the week. So mine with my BYD and you with your Astra. Tom, do you have a particular moan that you want to add to the list before we move
I
on to
do,
the
but it's kind of
postbone?
been sorted out, and it's another nocturnal one of for various dull reasons of noises outside and stuff. I was woken up at 4:30 in the morning, and I kind of like, oh, what's going on and what is it? Check that the car's locked on the app and things. And I'm on Octopus Go electricity tariff, like millions of people, and so I charge religiously between midnight and 4:30 in the morning because otherwise it costs a fortune.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I'll just watch the car switch off, I'll just watch it. And it didn't. And I'm like, what's going on here? So then I looked back and noticed that since the clock's changed, it's been charging from 1:30 to 5:30. And I did think, oh, I've used a lot of electricity this month. What's going on? The bill's quite high. And it's because I'm missing out on a cheap hour and getting another one. I'm like, my charger always used to automatically reset itself to the summertime and go back to GMT. So I don't understand. So I got in contact with the customer services on from the charger company, and they said, "Oh, that's weird. We'll reset it for you. We'll do a hard reset. There's no problem there, end. Reset it. It's been fine." So last night I'm kind of like, "When's it gone? When's it gone?" Looking at all my charts of charging and stuff, and it's gone back. So it's slightly irritating that I've been missing out on my or charging expensively for an hour is the worst bit of it for me, but it's now fixed, so I feel much more
such a
calm.
Tom problem, and I love that you've probably come up with like a spreadsheet or something
of
to figure
how
out
much
exactly
it's
how
cost
much more
me.
you've been
And,
charged. Well, we're chatting to you, Tom. Come on, then give us your bargains of the week.
Oh yeah, well I've got a would you rather this week.
Okay.
Yeah. Two very similarly priced cars. So there's one which has been at the top of the bargains for a couple of months now, which is the Subaru Solterra.
Oh,
which we'll know is the same as a Toyota BZ4X.
Mhm.
So this is a four-wheel drive car. I think they're about 55 grand if you were to go in and pay cash for one. Now, 3 years, £2,000 deposit, 8,000 miles a year, £347 a month. Which, by my bargain standards, it's no Aura Funky Cat for 150 quid, but that's still a reasonably priced car for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or would you pay? He's doing the sums now. 40 quid a month more,
Right.
and have a Nissan Ariya Advanced, big battery but two-wheel drive.
Yes, I would.
yes.
Done.
I think I would
Absolutely.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you really need the four-wheel drive of that Subaru. I suspect that you'd probably save more than 40 quid a month in electricity because it's so much more efficient, that car.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've run both and know that Ariya is much cheaper. So my bargain of the week goes to the Ariya then, because I
Yeah.
think I'd absolutely have a.
Well,
So yeah, 380 quid.
Well, let's face it, it's got 40 quid's worth of posh carpet in the Aria, hasn't it? So,
It
That's very
has. The
true.
carpet is so posh.
yes, so that alone wins it for me, So.
Okay, right, let's move things on to the post bag. So if you ever want to send us a message, if you're watching on YouTube, you can write a comment in the section below, or you can drop us an email, podcast@electrifying.com. So this is question number 1. This is from lovely Linda Sargent. Hi, Linda, who says, I have a £250 per month budget for an electric car, and I'm looking to lease. I've narrowed my options down to the following cars. Would like to know which you would choose if you were in my position. I can charge from home and will do around 300 miles a week. So the cars I've shortlisted are the Cupra Born, which might be a bit big for what I need, a BYD Dolphin, good size but not heard of BYD, or the Peugeot E208, which I used to have a petrol one and loved it. Come on then.
Well, I think that the 208 should be much cheaper than those. I mean, if they're exactly the same price, then it's a different kettle of fish, really, isn't it? But I mean, the BYD, I've never driven a BYD Dolphin. The E208's okay. Ginny had one, loved it, didn't she? She thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the Born seems like in a class above those others, literally, and in terms of the way it drives and is built and everything else. So
Yeah.
if they're the same money, I'd absolutely have the Born. If the E208 is reasonably cheaper, I'll probably have that. Dolphin, I don't know. I've sat in it and thought meh, but you have one, so you know.
Batch.
Maybe Linda doesn't like going like that with 3 fingers. Who knows?
With a grubby paws. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you called them trotters, Batch. Just to put that on
He
record.
did. He definitely did. Yes.
Sorry, it slipped out, I'm afraid. And before
Let
I'd realised,
let that go in the court's notes.
Well, that's going to be my last time on the podcast, clearly. No, what would I go for? I would agree with Tom, really. It does come down to price. And if the E208 is significantly cheaper than the Board, I think E208 is a great choice. I love the E208, and especially the new one with its funky facelift and the you can get in some great colours, can't you? I think it looks really great. But also, MG4s can be pretty cheap these days as well, can't they? So, I mean, that's something that that's a Born rival, isn't it? So that could be worth looking at. But yeah, I think if the E208 is significantly cheaper than the Born, I would go with the Peugeot.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've driven the Peugeot. I've driven all 3. So for me, because of the little things that are bugging me about the Dolphin, I would lean more towards the E208. But I do love a Born. I do. They're good. They're really good fun, and they're so funky and stylish. And just something, even just about the logo, just looks like a superhero emblem. I just think they're cracking little things. And even if it is slightly too big for you, you might find that you just end up filling out that space anyway, and you'll just get used to the size. But if she's had a 208 before and she enjoyed the petrol version, then I think you're going to love the electric version just as much.
Well,
So
I think even more. I think even
Yeah.
more. I think the 2.8 is one of those cars where the electric version is much nicer to drive than the petrol, because as much as that
Yeah.
little 1.2 3-cylinder engine is a nice engine, it's pretty harsh compared to the electric E2.8. I think it's lovely, the E2.8.
Yeah, there's actually a wonderful review of the E208 on electrifying.com, presented by yours truly, over in Barcelona, where it didn't rain that time that we went. So you can have a little watch of that and you'll see what I think. But I was just impressed the whole entire time. So there we go.
Yeah.
Right, shall we move on? We got a message from
Okay.
Clive Fender. Tom?
Yeah, so I do this one. She says, I have owned an EV for 3 years, but never used a public charger.
Wow.
I keep reading that I need apps to use them. I don't use data on my phone, so will I be stuck? It seems ridiculous that we have to rely on phones to get around.
That's
Good
a tricky
point.
one, isn't it? Because I think
Yeah.
if you don't have the app, normally a lot of chargers you can just kind of scan the QR code, but then you still got to go on the website and
need it.
stuff. Some of them you can just tap your Apple Pay or tap your card or whatever.
Yeah.
It depends on
Yeah.
where you're going.
Now I know.
Yeah, it depends what sort of charger.
Well, he does, yeah. And I also know quite a few people. They do tend to be of the older generation, admittedly, but I do know quite a few people who don't have. They either have no data on their phone whatsoever, or they have a minuscule amount of data. And we've all been in those situations where you found a charger and the 4G signal isn't very good, and you're relying on 3G or something, and it's taking ages to download. I think actually that's quite a real problem from Clive there. I've never really thought too much about it, but I think he's struck on something there.
Yeah. I don't know how to help you in that situation, if I'm honest with you, Clive.
Yeah. I think if you go to like a motorway service station and you're just doing it in an emergency because you normally charge at home and you're going to see your gran or whatever, you'll be fine with just contactless. It will be okay.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to use sort of, especially the slow chargers, like in a Tesco's, for example, you've got to go on the Pod Point app. So there you're going to be a bit knackered.
Also, you kind of want the apps and things because that's where you are going to get the better deals and you're not going to have to pay full price for a lot of things if you sign up to all these different doodahs. So I think you might maybe have to splash the cash and get a bit of data on your phone, I'm afraid, Clive.
And there are all these sort of new cars which now have pay and go. So like the Volkswagen one. So it's like a Tesla style charging system where you just plug in, and if you've pre-registered, it recognizes your car. The charger talks to another. You don't have to do anything with phones, anything with contactless at all. You just walk away and it charges, and then literally gives you a charge on your bill later on. Tesla owners know all about that, but it's now coming to other cars as well.
Okay. Sorry, we couldn't help you more on that, Clive. Batch, what you got?
I've got quite an interesting question here from Phil Hartley. Hello, Phil. He says,
Hi, Phil.
Sorry to clear my throat there. Sorry. Phil says, I've just done a 1,200-mile road trip over 7 days from Manchester to Ireland in my Q8 e-tron. Very nice.
Go on.
T-Bay northbound on the way up. I mean, let's face it, that is the best services in the entire world. So Phil's doing it right, I have to say. So T-Bay on the way up, destination charges at the hotels, Ionity, Carlisle on the way home, no problems anywhere. And he finishes his message with, the change in public charging over the last year has been significant.
Yes, this is what we were just saying. So last week's podcast, we were talking about motorway services because I went to a party and we played Motorway Services Top Trumps, the card game.
Yeah.
It's really good. And T-Bay came top. And I noticed there was quite a lot of love for T-Bay on the comments. I mean, even Alan said, and then we got Scar 1972 has given a shout out to T-Bay, just saying what a great service it is. But I have to agree that, I mean, charging is getting so much better at motorway services. And if we can all randomly stop at T-Bay at some point in our lives, then we're living our best lives, aren't we?
Did you see Kev Wiltshire's advice about T-Bay?
No.
No, he said, driving south in the M6 in my E2008, I wanted to stop to charge at T-Bay. The sign by the road said there were chargers, so I pulled off only to find they were all Tesla, which was kind of frustrating. I got in touch once I got home and was told that you've got to drive across to the northbound side via a small service road to reach chargers for other cars. There may be a sign, but I didn't see it, but I was lucky enough to have the power to continue. I thought I'd share in case anyone else gets into a similar pickle.
That is solid advice. Is that a downside to T-Bay? Has T-Bay lost some points there because you've got to go over to the other side? That's just not good enough, T-Bay. Up your game.
Well,
Up your game.
let's face it, though. whether it's northbound or southbound, T-Bay is a lovely place. So if it's double the opportunity to go to the farm shop. You could go to the farm shop on the southbound and the farm shop on the northbound as well, couldn't you?
Right, we've got to try and wrap this up because we've already hit 30 minutes and we haven't even touched on the Mini yet. So we've got some messages here. This is from Robert McGregor, who says, I just had a test drive of the new Mini E and I came away very impressed. What a fantastic little car to drive. Suspension is compliant over rough surfaces and always feels planted except under max acceleration where the front end lifts. Hey, you put your foot down. But doesn't scrabble for grip on dry roads. Very nice. It feels very fast and confident and inspiring. The B mode is really well judged and actually allows one pedal driving. Yes, Robert, I totally agree. I can talk about it now because the video is out. I think the new Mini is cracking. It's a brilliant little car. I really, really like it. And it drives so well. From where I drove it for the first time last year, when it was all still under camouflage, we took it to a track in Austria and we were allowed to give it full beans and throw it around corners and stuff. And they've made tweaks to make it even better, and it's just brilliant. It really is.
I was quite surprised that that Robert McGregor was able to drive the new Mini, because obviously it's you've only been able to drive it in Barcelona. So
yeah,
but apparently the dealers have got all the cars. Is that right?
Yeah, my local Mini dealer has a demonstrator, and another dealer further up the road has got one. So I think Mini they're really prioritising customers as opposed to the media. So I think the fact that you got drenched in Barcelona.
How dare they? How dare they?
I know. I think the fact that you got drenched in Barcelona, Nicola, it was a message. It was a message to you that the press aren't important.
It was exactly that. Yeah. We've also got a couple of messages about the Aceman, which is quite interesting. So Mark Bennett says, I think the Mini Aceman will do really well. I believe it's an EV only model, which yes, it is. I never liked the 4-door stretched regular Mini because it looked a bit wrong. The Aceman, I'd say, hits the sweet spot. Still recognisably a Mini, but modernised and better proportioned as a 4-door. Also big enough to be practical, but not too big. I'm looking forward to Nicola's take on how it drives. Yeah, I haven't driven it yet, but hopefully we'll be driving it October time.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Looks great, and the price seems okay for the Aceman as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that one's based on the same bits as the Mini you drove, isn't it? It's not based on the BMW bits like the Countryman.
Like the Countryman. No.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a crossover essentially, just slightly taller, slightly bigger than the Mini with a few extra doors. Yeah.
I just think it's a shame. Sorry, I was just going to say, I just think it's a shame that it's a crossover, because it effectively replaces the Clubman, doesn't it? Small little estate car with those barn doors. And my dad's got a Clubman and he absolutely loves it. And he took one look at the Aceman and he said, I don't want a crossover. And I sort of get his point, really. I'm sure it's going to drive beautifully. I'm sure the interior is going to be lovely. But it's just the body style. Crossovers don't suit everybody, do they?
No.
Yeah. I know what you mean, and I love a Clubman as well. Those rear doors I find so charming.
Yeah,
they should bring that back just for like a little.
Well, yeah, I did own a Clubman once and found the rear doors, which looked very nice, were actually a bit of a pain.
Oh,
it's like you've got a big thing there, and you've got two little wipers, and you have to open that one, and it's quite good in small spaces where like you backed up into a multi-story car park. But other than that, I just thought these are a bit gimmicky. Just give me a tailgate, please.
Yeah, but the wipers are so cute. They're so cute, the little wipers. I love them.
They are very cute, to be fair. Like what you'd have on some glasses.
Yeah, the glasses
little diddy ones.
Yeah, but it's dead now, so there we are. Move on.
There we are. Right, well, before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to talk about that you're about to do? Because I can tell you that next Saturday, not this, because as we're recording this, it's Friday, the 10th of May, that next Saturday, the 18th, I'm going to have a little walk around the Cybertruck. Hooray! It's doing like a tour of the UK at the moment, isn't it? So me and Manos are heading up to Birmingham to do a little walk around of the new Cybertruck, which is exciting.
Lovely. Lovely.
Yeah. What about you two?
Yeah, well, I've got a busy week next week, so I'm driving a Polestar 3 and then the 4 next week.
Nice. That's the one with no rear window.
One with no rear window.
Yeah.
And then I'm coming back, and then I'm going off to drive the Cupra Tavascan.
Oh,
Mm.
that one looks quite nice, actually. That would be
Yeah, I think
interesting.
that would be quite interesting. So
Yeah.
I'm also interested in the Polestars. I'm not so
Good
sure about
week.
the one with the back window, but I'll the Polestar 3 I think looks good.
Mm.
We're talking about not wanting a crossover. That's a crossover which is actually only a little bit higher than a normal estate car, so could be up my alley.
Nice. Mr. Bachelor?
Well, I'm on holiday next week, so I'm trying not to do anything. But I am
Nice.
just finishing the review, which is embargoed until next week, of the Peugeot E3008, which I know that's not the most
Ooh.
groundbreaking thing in the world. I understand that. But I drove the car in France in January time, and I wasn't too impressed with it. But I've driven it in the UK, and I can't redact it. I can't tell you, but do check out the review. That's all I'm going to say.
But it's
Interesting.
different. You can say that. It's different.
Did you get to go to Crumpleberry to go
Oh,
and drive the
my
3008?
word.
Which is the
What?
most adorable place in the entire world.
Well, there's not much at Crumpleberry, is there? But it's just such a gorgeous word, isn't it?
Yeah. Crumpleberry.
Crumpleberry.
Yeah, that's the place where so sometimes when brands do, they will do an international launch and then they'll do a UK launch where you drive like the British right-hand side version, and they always pick really cute places. And there's been a couple of times where we've gone up to a little place called Crumpleberry, and it's just so adorable. And there's cows and there's sheep, and the food is really lovely, and it's just very nice, but no phone signal. But yes, very nice.
No phone signal. But yes.
Yeah.
So I think we'll go with that, Tom. It's different. Do that. It's different. So check it out. Check it out.
Okay. Fabulous.
Just one last thing. Since it's Pick on Nicola Day.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
I already know what it is.
What is it?
Are you going to lay into me for what I said in the mini video?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you're going to tell me off for not saying Morris Mini.
Yeah. What's the the 3-wheeler cars? What are those called? The plastic 3-wheeler cars.
Now,
what are they called?
I would say Reliant Robin.
Well, that's correct.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be one of these people who says Robin Reliant.
No, that's only because a guy over the road from me growing up had one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the original launch Mini from 1959? What was it called?
It's a Morris Mini Minor.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Yes.
But in the video,
or what else could it have been?
Or
just a Morris Minor,
No, that was a different car.
No, what?
It was also an Austin. It was also an Austin 7 when it was first launched.
Okay. Well, look. Okay, shut up. Everyone knew. Everyone knew exactly the car that I was referring to. I said Mini Morris. Go for it. Okay. I think that's totally fine.
Well, this is.
I should have left it in there without comment. Yeah.
I've seen the comments and I was like, oh, here we go. For God's sake, I do this lovely video and you just pick up on one thing that I say. Please leave me alone.
Can you imagine if I'd left it? The comments on YouTube would have been ding, 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 ding.
I know. Yeah. So there's like small print at the bottom of the screen
because there are lots of geeks like me who would just have been.
This is
Fuse
Nicola
with
is now in
rage.
detention. Yeah, I'm aware of it. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, there we go. What can you do?
I did it mainly before Mike Askew saw it because Mike used to be editor of Mini World magazine, so he would have given him a twitch if he'd have seen it.
I was messaging Mike this week actually, and I went, "Yes, I'm aware of the whole Mini Morris Mini thing," and he went, "Well, if anything, it's a good thing because it's getting people to comment, so it's good for the algorithm." I was like, well, there you go. So that's why I did it. See, for the channel.
I see. Yeah.
For the channel. Okay. All right. Well done, everyone. On that note, I'm going to say goodbye.
Who are we going to pick on next week?
Let's pick on Batch next week. That's way more fun.
Not here.
Oh, he's on holiday. Yeah. We'll pick on you then, Tom, next week. Right. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to drop us an email, podcast@electrifying.com, and put a comment in the section below because, again, it's good for the algorithm. And if you are listening in all your usual podcast places, if you could rate us that would be lovely. You know, like give us some stars and that, because then it's good for us, and it's just a nice thing to do. You know, you're just giving back to society by giving us some 5 stars. Thanks, team. Okay, well, we've gone way over 40 minutes. I'm sorry. That was the Kilowatt 40-minute episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.